Hi, in this lesson we're going to talk about email etiquette. Etiquette meaning like polite or manners or sort of a combination of those and expectations, and what's sort of acceptable in different environments. The main points of this lesson are that emails are not formal documents like an essay, but they are expected to be professional in the workplace and the academic world. This is also a career readiness skill that you are expected to be able to effectively, clearly, and professionally communicate through email. This could apply to you and your peers or coworkers or classmates. This could also apply to something higher up, like if you needed to email the principal or some sort of supervisor. But in most cases, it's going to be about the communication between you and your teacher or your direct supervisor in the workplace. And so there's a lot of connections there between the workplace and the academic world. And, school is really about preparing you for your future job or your career and how you're going to make a living. And so email is a large part of communication. So the goal of this lesson is that you would learn the foundational concepts of professional emails for your age level, and then this will eventually prepare you as these expectations will likely grow as you progress through school and into your future job or career. So first thing is how to even write a new email. So you need to be able to go into Gmail. That compose button just simply means to create a new blank email. It'll pull up a box that looks like this or similar to this. But I wanted to show you a poor example of the type of emails that I do get from students, and I don't think they mean any harm, but I think it's sort of just this lack of awareness or what the expectations are in emails. And so that's why I really care about going over this lesson with you. But I do receive emails like this sometimes where in the subject line is like all of the words, and then like the actual email itself is empty, and it can be like kind of demanding or maybe come across as rude. And so, you need to update my grade. I turned in all my late work. Why haven't you graded it yet? And I think a lot of times this comes from students who maybe are getting grounded at home because their grade is low, and then they're turning in a bunch of late work at the last second because they don't want to be in trouble anymore. And so then they're sort of in this urgent rush to get their teacher to update their grade. And this, I totally understand it. However, it is not appropriate. And so we're going to talk about, effective ways to write an email to still get sort of what you need or how to communicate with the teacher. So if you could think of a couple reasons like why this wouldn't be an appropriate email, like there's nothing about who it's to and why they're emailing. It's not very polite. There's no sincerely or thank you or anything like that. And if you were to reverse this and say you wrote everything in the body of the email but nothing in the subject, well, then it would come up as no subject in like the recipient's inbox. And so then it's sort of annoying because you can't really tell right away what the email is about. It doesn't have like a title. And it can actually slow down like the emailing back process because it's hard to like prioritize it. And so really just you want to make sure all your fields are filled in, and we're going to go over more of that in a second. And then if you're not composing a brand new email, maybe you're replying to an email that was sent to you, you'll get you'll have to select one of these three options, and reply to all, or forward. And so reply is just that you're replying just to the original sender. Reply to all is if there was multiple people that received the email, then everybody who received the original email will also be able to see your response. And then forwarding is like if you just want to send a copy to someone who didn't already receive that email. So those are good things to know and to keep in mind. And then email can become very overwhelming because you can get so many emails so quickly. On average, I have about 100 emails per day that I have to get through in addition to all the teaching requirements. And so it's good to know, it's like polite and good manners, like email etiquette, to know when to reply all and when to not reply all and just reply directly to the original send. I do want you to watch this video. It's another teacher who made a video about sort of like the expectations of how to email a teacher, and I think she does a pretty nice job. However, in there she does talk about like don't use emojis and emoticons, and I think that's a good like initial rule to follow with your teachers. But this is not true for all teachers, and my personality, I love like the expressions of bitmojis and emojis and emoticons and memes and things like that. So I do enjoy getting to know your personality that way, but there's going to be some times where there are not teachers who feel the same, and the best way is to not send them at first until you get to know that professional or the professional environment. And just don't assume that it's acceptable. You kind of have to feel it out first. And then parts of an email. So, the to is just like if you're writing a letter. Email is basically like the modern day letter. There's just with technology, there's just maybe some little details that aren't necessarily already known unless someone teaches you. So, the to section is the main recipient, like the person you're writing to or responding to. If you need someone else to be aware of your email, but maybe you're not writing to them, you'd put them in the CC or the carbon copy. If you want the blind carbon copy means that the person you send it to doesn't know that this other person can see the email as well. So it's a blind carbon copy. It's sort of secretive, and you have to be really careful with it because sometimes it can come across as rude, or it really just depends. But I think most of the time at your age you're going to be using to and CC. And a good example would be like if your parents are sort of on your case about something, maybe about your grade or missing work or something like that, like a really good way to keep them in the loop but to still take responsibility is to email your teacher and put your teacher in the to section, and then you put your parents in the CC section, and they get a copy, and it's like proof that you're taking care of that issue that you guys previously discussed. And so that's a really, I make my daughter and my son do that when they email their teachers questions of things that we discussed. I ask them to CC me so that I can know that that conversation is happening. And I just think it's a really good way for students to start to take responsibility for their communications, but also have the parents there to sort of monitor and be in the loop. A subject is like the title of the email, and it's a simple summary. And I think in this video up here, she talks about it's a good idea to put your name or at least like which period you're in. As the teachers, we have a lot of students in a lot of different class periods, so that's not a bad idea. Salutation, Mr., Mrs., Ms., Miss, that's respectful. The details or the questions that you have, or the purpose of your email goes in the body. And then your signature, thank you, and then your name, or, sincerely, or just even a hyphen in your name is fine. But if you want to know what carbon copy, I was always curious about this, and so I remember carbon copy paper. You guys might be too young to really know what that is, and so this is a short video, and it'll tell you what carbon copy paper actually was long before computers or technology took over. So it's sort of a historical fun fact, and it explains why it's used in the email. And then you are going to be asked, to write an email from as an assignment, and it's me checking that you understand how to properly respond with email communication to different scenarios or a case scenario. So this is an example I've given you, and so you'll have a different prompt in your assignment, but this is an example. So you'll notice here, this is to the teacher, and I spelled my own name wrong. Okay, this is to the teacher, and then CC your parents, because they asked you to keep them in the loop. And even if they don't ask you to do this specifically, you might really impress them by doing it anyway. So there's just a little hint there. And subject line, Jane Doe, your first and last name. This is a student that's in first period, and then a quick summary of what they need. They need the Google Class code. Miss Gingery, my schedule has me in first period class, but somehow I have the wrong Google Classroom code. It sent me to second period career connections. The more detailed you are, the easier it is for the teacher to respond with everything that you need. So just make sure you're specific. Don't just say, I don't get it, or I need help. You might as well just start getting specific so that they can help you right away. And then, could you please, manners, provide me with the correct Google Classroom code as soon as you have a chance. It's just always a good idea to be as polite as possible, just as you probably want people to be polite to you. So thank you, and then Jane Doe. So this is something that I'm going to want you to do as an assignment in class, but this is an example for you. And then this is the step-by-step directions on how to change your email signature. So if you want something to automatically pop up down here with your name and some information about you as a student, so that you always have like this nice professional signature, then that's a great idea. So you could do Licking Heights, class of 2020, whatever you are. And then here are some things that you could just put, like if you're in the band, or if you're in student council, or you play basketball or baseball or whatever sports. And if you don't want to put those things, you don't have to, but some people take pride in the ways that they're involved with the school, any clubs or anything like that. Happy emailing.